Hello and welcome back to Lorehammer. I'm Trevor Buzak on this episode of Change, and joining me are the imaginary friends in my head that might be Tzeentch, might be real, hard to say, might be mental health condition that I'm, still yet to sort out. But hey, welcome, Christian.
Hey, I am your local medication.
How do I take you?
Rectally.
I was worried about that. Okay, I don't like that. Well, thanks for coming, I guess. You're already threatening people with rectal examinations. We also have Court. What's
Good to be
man?
here. Hey, I'm wearing my my glasses today, throwing people off for the Lord of Change, which I realize is really just the Lord of Gaslighting, which I think we're going to learn. Tzeentch is just the Lord of Gaslighting. So
Wow,
good to be here.
That is a very nice way to say that.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, I like that a lot, actually. Okay, so before we get to the episode on the Lord of Gaslighting, I got a couple housekeeping things. Hey, do you ever listen to the episode and you hear one too many or like one too many long pauses or like a couple guys talking over each other? We got sound editors. They try to take a lot of that out, but it's a lot of work doing that. We're looking for sound editors. We have 3 that are doing very well. And then I'm looking for more just as kind of backup. So if you want to kind of help just edit some Lorehammer episodes, it's I don't know, it's a good way to help the show without, like, if you have no money and you just want to listen to Lorehammer episodes anyways, definitely message me at lorehammerpodcast.com. And always looking for sound editors. So definitely hit me up.
Yeah, and then you can message me because I'm also an audio editor and a fellow nerd of the audio world. So then we'll just chat about Pro Tools, Logic, whatever. There we go. Yeah, we'll just double nerd that way. It's all good.
Yeah. I'm like, no, that's geeking. I think that's first geeking.
Okay, there's a difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, but also, guys, please join the Imperial Tithe and support the show. If you dig Lorehammer, if you dig what we do here, please consider supporting and becoming a patron on Patreon for Lorehammer. $2.50 a month gets you the ad-free versions of all the episodes. That's it, $2.50 a month. And then if you want to jump in on the video version and see our beautiful faces, as we say now, it's only $5 a month. So boom, 2 tiers. There you go. Oh, liar. I love you. Thank you, brother. Thank you. I see you.
Yeah,
I see you.
You get to say fun stuff like that when you're part of the Patreon chat and stuff. Liar says, my favorite man, Court. Mark is no man.
Backhanded compliments.
But that's very, and here we go, double nerding right off the bat. That's very Eowyn from Lord of the Rings. I am no man. And boom, she kills the Witch King. So you know what? There you go, Mark.
Okay, so this episode, by the end of it, you can convince me if I'm going to sex change. That's the goal in this episode of Change and Tzeentchianness. I'll put on an Eowyn dress. I promise you that.
Join the Imperial Tithe, folks. Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
And you can see it all on video unfold.
Let's
other
see
advantage,
if the madness happens.
Yeah. Other advantage of joining the Patreon is you get to be in the live chat room, like Mark said. So you can come in and drop your comments, talk to us during the show, have live questions answered or make other shots at Mark. And we do live call-ins at the end of the show as well. So if you want to come chat with us in person and be on the show, it's a great way to do that as well. So
yeah. The chat has some good stuff already bumping in there. Let me just explain the difference between geeking, because Jack wonders, geeking, you mean gooning? And then Jack also says, isn't geeking a drug thing? And I think it might be, but no, geeking is like...
you mean tweaking?
Tweaking, that's what I do on the weekends. Yeah, I always forget.
Tweaking, geeking, gooning, and nerding.
No, like geeking is like software people. Like it's different. Where nerds are like board games and stuff. There's a difference. One's more intellectual and one's more basement dweller.
I think it also depends on where you're living too, because like maybe like the West Coast vibe, is like I consider myself a geek less than a nerd. Like,
oh man,
but I don't know. You know what? Call yourself what you want. There you go.
Isn't that the truth? Whatever you want to be, I'll make fun of it either way. Yeah. That's how I'd do it. All right, well, this episode, Lord of Change, I'm excited. It's going to be fun. We are going on a Chaos series. We're doing all the gods. This is part 2. Yeah, in this episode, we're going to be talking about Tzeentch, and we're going to be talking about, like, kind of his general vibe from his numbers to colors, dominions, titles. He's got a lot of different titles. We'll talk a little bit about his philosophy, what his realm looks like. That's very cool with like the crystal labyrinth and the impossible fortress and all that kind of stuff. The hidden library. Did you know there's a library there as well?
It's pretty rad. There's a lot of cool things here.
We'll talk about rivalry, and this is a concept too. We know chaos gods have a counter, but do they have a preferred god? So maybe we'll go into that a little bit. We'll talk about all of Tzeentch's demons, from greater demons to beasts, to demon engines. We'll talk about the cult of Tzeentch, just different sorcerers and gifts and corruptions and all that. And if we have enough time, we can talk about some war bands and some night houses, titan houses, chaos renegade, all these little things that we can maybe dip our toe into. Depends on how, if chat can keep us on track here or not.
This is all up to the chat now.
Yeah. Listen, liar, if Mark is using an excuse to be trans, then we surely didn't. I just see my name, so I read this comment. To be honest, I didn't pre-read, so we'll move past that.
Move past it.
Let's go back to Tzeentch. Tzeentch, the Lord of Change.
Yeah, and you guys are going to hear us say it different way because you know what? We're going to change the way we say it. So Tzeentch, 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 whatever you want to call it, man. You know what? It doesn't matter. So
yeah.
Either way, Tzeentch, the Lord of Change. So if chaos is change itself, then Tzeentch, more than any other dark power, embodies chaos in its purest, most primal form. Therefore, no other god of chaos warrants more of our fearful respect, our tireless resistance, and our unflagging loyalty to the Emperor. That was said by Inquisitor Gallienus Dirk at the Jellicoe Conclave.
Jellicoe cats.
I really tried hard not to say Gallienus like some sort of it was really difficult.
You can add anus to just about any word.
There it is.
Makes it sound Roman and refined.
Yes, Gallienus. Tzeentch, the changer of ways, is no mere deity of the immaterium, but the very embodiment of the ceaseless churn of ambition, the unrelenting tide of change, and the insidious whisper of progress turned to ruin. Where others speak of the ruinous powers in crude forms or terms, much like destruction, decay, indulgence, Tzeentch moves unseen, weaving webs of influence too intricate to be comprehended by mortal minds, and very much more intricate than what we can comprehend because we're just a bunch of idiots here. So, hope is but a mask. The desire for knowledge, wealth, or dominion is never truly one's own. It is a thread in a grander tapestry, its pattern dictated by the great conspirator. To wish for a better future is to set foot upon a path unseen, where each step forward twists, contorts, and ultimately serves the architect of fate. Whether human, Xenos, or demon, all who yearn for more dance upon strings they cannot perceive, their wills subverted long before they even suspect anything. While the other dark gods revel in crude displays of dominance, Khorne with his bloodletting, Nurgle with his rot, Slaanesh with their decadence, Tzeentch moves in silence, unseen and inevitable. His weapons are not axes or plagues, but whispered promises enticing futures and the slow, deliberate corruption of ambition. What begins as a noble pursuit, a leader striving for power to enact change, a scholar searching for hidden truths, a warrior seeking tactical perfection, becomes, with but the smallest of nudges, a path to betrayal, heresy, and madness. There are no accidents, no innocents, only those who believe themselves free, blind to the subtle manipulations that lead them to ever deeper into Tzeentch's web. Intentions matter little, for it is not goodness or evil that fuels the architect's schemes, but the act of scheming itself. The ceaseless turning of the wheel, the inevitable revelation that what one once sought was never truly theirs to claim. Tzeentch does not command. He does not demand. He whispers. He tempts. He guides until the unwitting serve him willingly, never knowing the precise moment they cease to be their own. Whew, man. That's such a good picture too. Like I love the idea that there's this contrast between the other gods. And of course, each of them have their own contrast, but really there's whispers where like there's normally screams. There's just a little bit of scheming and plans and plotting where there's bloodletting. It's such a very cool form of chaos. Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, like all rebellions start in like dark back alleys, you know. There's that form of chaos that happens. I always just think of Tzeentch as kind of the universe. Every part of it's constantly at change, you know. Either you're in motion or not, or changing from state of new to old. Like everything's just constantly changing, and he's getting fed off all of that. Doesn't matter what little bit of change, it's all for him.
Yeah, and like you said, like it's that insidious form of chaos, right? Some of it's like really blatant and in your face and loud, and this is a lot more delicate and corrupting from behind the scenes. So yeah. The changer of ways. I am Tzeentch, and you are the puppet that dances to my tune. Excerpt from the Book of Tzeentch. Tzeentch is known by many names, and yet defined by none. Is the changer of ways, the ceaseless force that twists destiny and warps reality according to his unknowable design. As a lord of change, he is the shifting storm of possibilities, the eternal flux that denies stagnation. As a lord of sorcery, his power manifests through the arcane, his knowledge extending beyond mortal comprehension. The architect of fate, he shapes the future with schemes so vast that even his own servants grasp only fragments of their purpose. The great conspirator and great deceiver, he weaves plots within plots, lies within truths, until reality itself is uncertain. As the lord of entropy, he ensures that nothing remains as it was, that all things decay into something new, something unforeseen. The master of mutation, he crafts both flesh and destiny alike, twisting them into forms both wondrous and monstrous. The weaver of destinies, he guides the fates of empires and individuals alike, spinning an intricate web of influence across time and space. He is the father of lies and deception, for every promise he whispers is a stepping stone to damnation, every boon a curse in disguise. As a great eagle and raven god, he is the unseen predator watching from above, striking with razor-sharp precision. To some, he is Chachar, the ancient force of change. To others, Shunch or Chen. Different names, different guises, yet always the same unfathomable will, reshaping the universe in ways none can predict, not even those who worship him. Ooh, yeah, like he's got so many titles and so many names, which makes sense for a god of change, but that kind of also gives like a summary of his portfolio. It's not just fate. He also does sorcery. He does like lies and manipulation, mutation, and they all have that obviously like change theme in them.
His LinkedIn resume is just really fleshed out. It's really good, really pro, very pro.
Very specific.
Yeah. I definitely want to. I don't have the login on chat, but Liar 100%. He is Wormtongue. So Lord of the Rings fans, fellow brothers there, and brothers and sisters, he is Wormtongue. Yeah,
for sure.
100%.
Yeah, that whispering, corrupting influence. An interesting thing too is the concept of like transmutation and witchcraft that goes with that sorcery theme. Like a lot of sorcery revolves around changing forms of things, right? Life and death, substance to substance, things like that. And like I'm talking from quote unquote real life sorcery, witchcraft.
Ah,
But that's also weaved into like all the same elements and themes of his overall like character, which are really cool.
Mhm.
Its domains. Tzeentch's dominion is boundless, a shifting sea of chaos where nothing is as it seems and everything bends to his will. He is the master of change, for nothing remains static under his gaze. Empires rise, collapse, and are reborn in his name. Evolution is his law, the endless refinement of form and thought, not towards perfection, but towards something new, something unpredictable. Mutation is both his blessing and his curse, flesh and fate alike twisted into strange, unknowable configurations. He's a patron of intrigue, where whispers topple kings, and a single secret reshapes the course of history. Ambition is his most insidious tool, for every mortal who yearns for more treads the path he has paved, their hunger leading them ever deeper into his schemes. As the keeper of knowledge, he hoards forbidden truths, revealing only fragments to those who seek, drawing them into his labyrinthine deceptions. Sorcery is his gift and his corruption, the raw power of the immaterium shaped by their minds of those too arrogant to see the chains binding them. Destiny bends beneath his talons, rewritten and rewritten again, each prophecy a lie that serves a deeper unseen purpose. He is a master of lies, for nothing he grants is ever what it appears to be, and even in truth itself is but another mask of his deception. And at the heart of it all, trickery, the great game he plays with the universe itself, where every victory is hollow, every failure a step towards an unseen conclusion, every choice an illusion spun by the changer of ways.
yeah. Wild. A lot of negative traits. Oftentimes we talk about like, oh, there's some positive traits too with the gods, and of all of them, Tzeentch has like the most positive traits. But like I said, they greatly outweigh. We'll talk a lot about Tzeentch and like ambition. It's also his most insidious tool, so be careful with that one. We'll also talk about hope, because with change, there's hope of something better.
Mhm.
Especially in the Imperium. Imagine how many grumpy people just are sick of their 20-hour work days and want something better. I don't understand it, but there's sickos like out there like that. Yeah, so there's a couple like good aspects to Tzeentch for sure, that like the hope one, they're just none of the other gods have that strong of a good attribute.
It's interesting too because they all do, but it's not as positive, like you're saying. Like you've got life from Nurgle, and you've got artistry and maybe perfection in Slaanesh, and then you have honor. You do have honor in Khorne, but hope is such a powerful thing. There's a beautiful, just little side thing. There's a beautiful moment in the Sandman graphic novels, and I believe they even do it in the show. I forget, but uh, Morpheus is going battling back and forth against this demon, and they're basically doing this weird like poem slam and whatnot. Like he says, like it's funny, but he's like, "I am an ox. I am big and strong," and then the other guy's like, "I am the fly that bites the ox and makes it die from pestilence." Da, 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 and they back and forth. And the last thing that Morpheus says that stumps the demon is, "I am hope," because you cannot extinguish hope permanently. There is always hope.
Yeah.
There's always that little bit of, and so with Tzeentch, it's like no matter what, there's always that little bit of hope, change, something. It's unstoppable.
That's if you want to go with the anime version of events, where all the power of friendship comes together. I will argue that hope can also be weaponized very efficiently, and you can use that hope to bait people and also destroy people in that, like, and especially with change, how he manipulates things, right? So he's actually using your hope against you. It's your hope for change, your hope for something better, your hope for whatever it is that got you into that mess to begin with. He manipulates you with it and then makes it into something that it isn't. It's almost like a monkey paw situation, if you're familiar with like, you get what you want, but there's always a twist, right? Like if I say I want to be a millionaire, and then I make a wish, and then the monkey paw grants it. Let's say, sure, I get $1 million, but inflation has eaten up all its value, so it's really just like $2. Like, stuff like that. There's always with Tzeentch, there's always like something else going on. So, and I agree. Like hope is certainly what
the crossroads deal is another one of those devil's bargains.
Sure, yeah, exactly. And even like you said, Mike, devil's bargain, exactly. Now, granted, like, yes, again, I don't want to take away from the positive aspects of the Chaos Gods as well, but I'm just saying, like, hope can certainly be used against people as well.
Yeah. Oh, when I was in high school, Tzeentch was praised for sure when it came to me and finding a girlfriend. Like, he's like, maybe
one day.
Strings you along just enough to keep trying, but keep failing. Yeah. Purge in the comments says, why is he associated with ravens? Overall, Tzeentch does have a avian aesthetic. He looks more like I don't know if he looks like, but his demons look more like vulture. His greater demons look more like vultures. But ravens are often like really associated with either like in Nordic mythology with like Odin and telling the future and fate, or in other cultures as well. They always kind of have like a very strong sorceress or mystical component. Again, tied with like witches and things are often associated with ravens as well. So
yeah, like ravens are super crafty in and of themselves. Like they can solve
very
complex problems. Yeah, and like they're old life forms too, as well. And then the other kind of thought maybe I had was they it's not quite developed yet. We'll come back to it later, I'm sure.
The chicken of change. It's the chicken of change.
The chicken of change.
Which just poses the classic conundrum: which came first, the chicken or the egg?
And there you go. That was the very first.
There it is.
Yeah. That's what spawned Tzeentch's first little
the first caveman who thought
spark
that
in the warp.
Yeah.
We discovered it here on Warhammer.
Cool. Well, we'll jump into Tzeentch's manifestations. While the dark gods shackle themselves to form and consistency, Tzeentch remains a being of ceaseless transformation, a kaleidoscope of guises, each truer than the last, yet false, all at the same time. Mortals in their feeble attempts at understanding assign it to the pronoun he, though such distinctions are meaningless before the thing of pure, shifting thought. Okay, so that's the direction I gotta go. Not just one, but all, everything.
You have to send, You can never be pinned down as anything, really.
Excellent. Wow.
Your pronouns are Lord of Change.
Perfect. Gender identity. These are mere illusions to a god whose very essence is contradiction and flux. The air about Tzeentch is thick with sorcery, a living haze of colors that coil and intertwine like cunning lies given shape. It is an ever-turning tapestry, its strands whispering in the unknown tongues, revealing glimpses of fates yet to unfold. Those who find themselves reflected in this prismatic vapor are already changed. Their bodies, their minds, their very souls twisted into new and terrible configurations. To draw the gaze of Tzeentch is to be rewritten, whether one wills it or not. And yet, through the ceaseless, endless maelstrom of forms, certain aspects endure. The hollow laughter of scholars broken by forbidden knowledge. The burn of shifting signals seared into unwilling flesh. The dread recognition in the eyes of those who see the face of the architect and know with horrifying certainty that they have beheld it before. Most often, Tzeentch takes the shape of a towering, cadaverous sorcerer, its robes writhing through an impossible spectrum of hues, each shade laced with hidden meaning. The head slouches low, fused with its own torso, as though peering down upon creation with an amusement both boundless and cruel. Its arms are spindly, talon-tipped extensions of its will, and from its brow rise horns that arc and spiral like paths of labyrinth schemes, crackling with the fire of revelation and madness. Others tell of a more hideous still, shifting horror of flesh and voices, a multitude of faces that emerge, leer, whisper, and dissolve in an unending possession of deception. They speak in unison, yet never in truth. Each mouth offers a different story, a conflicting promise, a maddening reflection of the same sentence spoken 1,000 ways, each meaning lost within the others. To listen is to doubt is to wonder, and to wonder is to fall. For in the end, there is no understanding. Tzeentch. There is only the illusion that no one ever could. But this is what's fun about the Chaos Gods, like, and this is what I always like kind of laugh about Abaddon. You think you beat Tzeentch, you think you beat his plots and schemes. That's exactly the mindset Tzeentch wants you to be in. He's got you right where he wants you now. Like, as soon as you think you're in control, you're not at all, man.
That's why you have to embrace true chaos and just act anarchically and not have any forethought. How can you scheme if you're not planning your next move? Always
Yeah.
keep them guessing.
Exactly. And right now, smashed my laptop. No one's seen that coming.
Podcast ends. Yeah.
In the chat, I think it was brought up a really good question here, and I looked to see if we're covering it, but it was a Purge. Yeah, sorry, I'm looking again. No, it's Jack. Jack is asking, so we don't know when Tzeentch was born, but we can guess Nurgle and Khorne. Yeah, so I've been looking for that, and I think they've retconned it a couple times here. But it sounds like from at least the Warhammer wiki, like he was the second of the Chaos Gods to come to full sentience within the warp sometime during Old Earth's European medieval period in the second millennium. So I know that's been changed once before in the old history, and I would just almost say like I feel like Tzeentch has to be older than that. Like if everything's changing and forming and all that stuff, like, and maybe that is the gestation of Tzeentch, but I don't know if we have a specific, hardline time. I'll keep on that, but I think it's a good question.
Yeah, I've kind of you were kind of right there for sure with the two different edition, kind of, where in one edition we had Khorne and Nurgle. Like, this is early lore. We're talking like Rogue Trader, second edition, maybe third, where we had the different kind of gods born. Khorne and Nurgle were born in the Middle Ages during like the plagues and all the war. And lots of people don't like that. But Tzeentch has always been the oldest and was born first. And even in the old editions, I think he was born almost at like the beginning of the universe. But we've talked about how once you're born, you're kind of always born in the warp. So that's a fun concept as well. And the other maybe thought too about birth is like, people get a little mad. I like the idea that the gods were born kind of in the Middle Ages. And it's not that that's when they were like fully born in this quick little period of time. That's just when they manifested. So it took them like 60 million years since the start of the galaxy. And then this was the tipping point. And it's not even that this might have been like such a big event, that it was such a massive tipping point. It could have just been that last 1% that the galaxy needed for them to like get that consciousness,
Yeah.
I always struggled with that. I get the idea, like, obviously early Warhammer was made by history nerds, and they obviously were big medieval files, and they, were tying violence of the Middle Ages, which actually wasn't as prominent as people realize or suspect, depending on when and where you were, and then like the pestilence, like the Black Plague and things like that. But if you look at how the mechanics of the universe work, at least how they've been fleshed out now, it's kind of hard to justify, because you had like the War in Heaven, you had Old Ones, you had all these other very powerful psychic creatures that were very prominent in the world before humanity even arose. And they, like, how can you have a whole War in Heaven and I'm talking the old ones versus the Necron, not the other War in Heaven. How can you have all that, A, with no effect, and B, there is kind of like hints that may have caused the warp to become unstable. That is why the old ones disappeared. In which case that would put, and like, just because the warp is destabilized doesn't mean that there's consciousness in it yet. But I don't know. To me, like, Earth seems like such a small, out of the way backwater by the medieval period. There are other species. The galaxy is so big. Like, why would humans be the ones to tip the chaos gods over? Unless you have some like significant impact, someone like the Emperor or something like that.
Well, yeah, I think it's kind of just like it's that last little percentage point, so it's not that they did all of it, like there's that 60 million years, but also there is a preference that the chaos gods seem to show towards humanity, whether it's because of our emotions flicker a little brighter, last a little longer. Somebody described, like, the gods eating the different races' souls as like, a human is a nice hearty meal. Like, it's like potatoes and meat. It's not fancy, but it's going to sustain you. It's going to be nutritious. Where if you're eating an Eldar soul, you're eating like a fancy dessert. It's 90% whipped cream and the rest is chocolate, and the different races have these different varieties. So it's just like, maybe, yeah, there were other races that have done way more, but just the way the souls operate and just the way, Tau, that's like eating a shoe. Sure, you can do it on your pilgrim's voyage or whatever, but it's not going to be good to eat your shoes.
Sure.
Yeah, I think there's a distinction too between birth and sentience, and that is really touched upon by the Looper call in the chat. So big ups to you. There is a difference there, and as you put, Mark, like there is also difference in souls throughout the galaxy, and we know that. I mean, that's part of the Warhammer lore, and so it's a selfish human thing to say that we cause change. We have a greater capacity for change within the galaxy, but that's just kind of the way it's written. That's just kind of the way that it's been set down, and I'll be meat and potatoes any day. That's fine. And you want to munch on some little Tau appetizers, that's fine. That's fine.
You live your life how you want.
Yeah,
whatever.
Little Tau bites.
Yeah. If you want a man's meal, go find Khorne.
I'm the one who had vegan chicken nuggets earlier tonight. Just saying.
Okay.
But there we go.
Already.
You do you. That's so funny. Oop, I forgot to mark that one. That's my bad. I'll carry on. Manifestation continued. So the demon hunters of the Ordo Malleus, ever watchful, ever wary, believe that they have discerned the contours of the great deceiver's form. Yet the keenest among them know that this, too, may be but another layer of the labyrinth, a mirage within a greater illusion. For what is deception but the artful arrangement of consistency? A well-spun wears the mask of truth. A well-spun lie wears the mask of truth. And in the shifting cosmos of Tzeentch, certainly is but another snare. Those who claim to have glimpsed the architect of fate speak in contradictions, their words unraveling even as they are spoken. Some describe it as a billowing haze of iridescent smoke, each swirl pregnant with schemes too vast for mortal comprehension. Others swear they have beheld Coruscata. What is this word? Man, there's a lot of fun words in this Tzeentch episode. I should have not put big words in, probably. Well, there's strands of raw energy, and they flicker, and power unshackled from meaning, twisted all it touches into grotesque new forms. Faces appear in the midst, whispering half-truths that fray the mind. Blasphemous signals of burning dark tongue hang in the air, searing reality itself. Flesh, fluid, fire, Tzeentch is all and none, 1,000 shifting reflections of truth forever out of reach. In the cursed visions of Mad and the Forsaken, the change of way takes the guise of unnatural birds and impossible fish. their shapes blurring the boundary between sky and sea. These creature hybrids of feather, fin, and something beyond either reoccur in the gods' dread iconography or in the bodies of the demon spawn. The lords of change towering the feathered mock the mortal form, while the lesser kin, the screamers and the discs glide through the immaterium like spectral mantas, ever in pursuit, ever hunting, their hunger never satiated. I was thinking too about the birds and how maybe it's kind of a tie to Egyptians and they liked ravens and kind of lots of sorcery. And I wonder what that god is in Egyptian lore. Do you know?
I mean, there's
It was
Horus.
the crane, right? Oh, there's Horus.
Thoth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And think about this. What's the biggest change between evolutionary periods here? Fucking dinosaurs to birds. Boom. Tzeentch.
Tzeentch, yeah. See, that's a good 10% on that fill-up bar of sentience.
Yeah, well,
I like
but
it.
then that proves that it predated humans if he was working his dinosaur scheme from the beginning here.
That's just Tristan. That's what he wants you to think. That's the face of truth with a mask of lies or whatever.
Yeah. Kind of going back to your Egyptian thing. Yeah, totally. That's pretty obvious as a theme too, because Thoth is a god of like writing and witchcraft and stuff like that too. So that's a very obvious.
Yeah, and especially when we get to Thousand Suns, then it really gets like, okay, yeah, I get it, Egypt.
Just as subtle as the Necron, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. The Necron are the greatest. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Also something you kind of went past too. Fire also plays a big role in like Tzeentch symbolism, which again goes back to like fire is a transmuting state. Like it's naturally unstable. Like fire doesn't have a form, and B, it is the process by which something is changing from one state to another when it burns, right? So again, I love all the symbolism, how it all like kind of ties really nicely together.
Yeah, when you look at the symbol for Tzeentch, it's very flame-like and almost liquidy as well. Like there's that hint.
And again, water is formless, right? Like again, that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so interesting to think about looking at that because I think you guys said it perfectly. You're looking at this symbol and you're like, oh yeah, it's a flame. And then you kind of blink and now it's water. And you're like, wait, like how could it be water now? And then you're looking at it's back to flame or something even crazier. And it's just like every time you think you know what it is and you can describe it, it's like completely shifted now.
It's that fucking dress. Like, is it gold or gray or whatever? It's that. I don't know. Tzeentch be praised.
It is neither and it's both, as Tzeentch intended. Yeah.
Yet among all these depictions, the darkest whisper remains that Tzeentch has no true form at all. That the flesh it wears, the shape it assumes, is but another layer of the masquerade. When it begins to manifest, it is a grotesque ballad of writhing, shaping substance, its body as mutable as its will, its every aspect an echo of the formless insanity that is its domain. Like its demons, the realm of chaos itself, the great mutator, does not exist as others do. It is a transformation given will. It is a lie that believes itself true. It is change itself.
Yeah. And if it were a musical genre, it would be jazz fusion. Just all over the place.
Yes.
But Purge, I like your comment too. You keep thinking of change in the House of Flies. I'm hoping you're talking about Deftones. So yes, big ups. Yeah, Tzeentch is just a really cool, just uncomprehensible thing. But there are manifestations like we were talking about, and just continuing on with the manifestations here. The notion of Tzeentch possessing a singular, tangible form, it is itself a deception, a comforting delusion crafted by feeble minds to seek to impose shape upon the shapeless, to comprehend the incomprehensible. Those who peer too deeply into the abyss of the great deceiver must grapple with a simple, insidious truth. Its essence is flux. Its substance is ever-turning wheel of change. What is perceived is but the mind's own desperate attempt to impose reason upon the unreasonable, a conjured metaphor more than a reality, a mask behind which lurks nothing but the roiling storm of endless mutation. Some whisper that mortal perception clings to birds and fish, the creatures of the sky and the sea, because these things are ruled by the whims of unseen forces. Winds shift without warning, tides pull and churn, ever inconstant, ever treacherous. These elements sculpt the world with ceaseless, indifferent motion, and thus they serve as fitting emblems of the changer of ways, who reshapes existence with a whim. A whisper, a mere flicker of intent. It's very beautiful, almost. It's very delicate. Like when we think of Tzeentch, it's very I don't know, like it's got the bird vibe, it's got the flames. It's
Yeah.
very like this cool, delicate chaos almost until you get burned in the face by a fucking, blue horror or whatever. But yeah,
Yeah, for sure. No, I like that way of saying it. Like as soon as you think you know what it is, it's like, yeah, it's you got to keep it safe because it's a delicate little idea of a thing, and then it
Yeah.
shifts. Yeah, cool. There's this one movie code I wish I remembered. It's like I got 90% of it, but I'll try to keep remembering it. I'll Google it.
wait. If we're,
Yeah,
I might know what you're talking about.
yeah. Where
And if I'm
what?
I'm gonna psychic power right now. Okay, ready? I'm hoping this is it because I literally just thought this thing, and then you mentioned the movie quotes. Okay,
Pull it out of my mind.
it's from The Usual Suspects. Is this what you're talking about? The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
Oh, that's a
Is that what
good
you're
one. I
thinking?
have heard
No,
it.
okay.
No, that was
Okay,
not it.
okay,
Somebody in
all
the
right.
chat must have been thinking that.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I forget. It's like I think it's talking about like revolution. It's like to hold it is but a whisper, and to
Oh man,
what is that from? Whatever.
I'm really
you-
hoping it's from like Les Miserables, and that you're just a
Some
huge
death.
fan secretly.
Yeah. Wow.
Sounds kind of V for Vendetta-esque. It might be, but I don't know.
We'll
That's good.
find it. Don't you
Yeah.
worry. You carry
Okay.
on, my friend.
Cool. Roger that.
Oh yeah, what I want to mention
Yeah.
was we kind of talked about the bird vibe. What about the fish vibe? Like the bird, we can kind of tie it to a lot of those themes. Is there anything kind of that we get with the fish?
To my mind, just right away, from a scientific perspective, there's a whole like evolutionary process of going from like water to land. It's kind of my immediate thought on that, but I could be off base.
Okay, so the warp is an ocean,
Right.
right?
Yes.
And Tzeentch is the fish, man.
It's all the fish.
It's all the fish.
Oh God. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. This like weird omnidirectional creature in the warp.
Omnidirectional.
Yeah. So, yet all such reasoning is but a hollow echo in an endless corridor. For the nature of Tzeentch defies inquiry as the ocean swallows footprints in the sand. Boom, there it is.
Just like that.
Yeah. To seek its true form is to court madness, to pursue knowledge that turns to smoke in the grasping hand. Every effort to describe the master of mutation is, by design, a failure. Words betray, images deceive, and meaning slips from certainty to falsehood in the span of a breath. Even those who claim to know the architect of fate speak only in riddles and contradictions, their certainty curdling into doubt before their lips fall silent. For should one, by some cursed enlightenment, glimpse the form of Tzeentch and for one fleeting moment understand, what then? That understanding will rot, wither, and change, revealing itself as yet another lie, yet another turn in an infinite spiral. The wise do not seek the face of the thousand masks, for it is never the same twice. the wisest do not even dare to look. There's a lot of Lovecraftian vibe too. Like it's hard not to conjure up the idea of like an H.P. Lovecraft horror or this just beautiful horrific shape that is incomprehensible. And a lot of writing with Lovecraft, if you guys are fans, which I very much am, um, is undescribable. Like the horrors are never thoroughly described in detail, and then your mind just makes it up. And so much
Yeah.
of this feels that way, especially with and I don't believe, I'm looking it up now, but no, it was not essentially Lovecraft in the first instance, but it was um, Ambrose Bierce and Robert W. Chambers wrote about Hastur. Hastur has a very, very similar vibe to Tzeentch. Hastur being kind of one of the, we call them the old gods and whatnot. So very similar vibe with the King in Yellow.
Yeah,
Yep.
and like Cthulhu has like a lot of kind of ancient dread or like fear being feasted on almost. And that kind of describes the Chaos Gods very good because all their plots and schemes, or Khorne's violence or Nurgle's sickness, it all is just ultimately so they can feed on your soul. That like, and in Khorne's case, this super intelligent thing is trying to eat you, and you're kind of aware of it, but at the same time, you're not.
Yeah, and you never will be fully.
Yeah.
You may
But like you have this like
but never.
feeling in the back of your mind,
Mhm.
where you're like, but then it's just as soon as you try to grab it, it's gone again. That idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm reminded a little bit of the observer's paradox too, where like the very act of you observing something like changes it. So you can never really grasp it. Like it's a phenomenon that happens like in social science and in like physics. Where if you like actually observe like a certain thing with light waves, like they change just by you looking at them. So it's so hard to pin down because it like how can you measure something if every time you solidify it or you think you have it, it changes because you're looking at it and you're trying to capture it in its natural state. So
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's maddening.
Yeah,
it is.
it could drive you crazy, just like
Mhm.
change once. All right, let's talk about the sacred mark and not Marcus.
He is the sacred mark.
He's a sacred Marcus. Yeah.
Screw that guy. This is a Trevor episode.
Then change your name.
Oh, okay, yeah, on it.
As the good Tzeentch intended. All right. Tzeentch's sacred mark manifests as an ever-shifting, iridescent symbol that defies fixed form, its patterns twisting and morphing like living fire. It often appears as a constantly warping rune of eldritch script, glowing in unnatural hues, deep blues, shimmering purples, and flickering pinks, imbued with the raw essence of sorcery. Those marked by Tzeentch find their flesh crawling with arcane energy, their eyes shimmering with the light of distant galaxies, and their minds flooded with cryptic whispers of impossible knowledge. The mark is a blessing and a curse, granting unnatural insight, mutability, and enhanced psychic potential, but also dooming its bearer to an existence of ceaseless transformation, paranoia, and inevitable betrayal.
I do love this being like a tabletop mini game that you paint. That the Chaos Gods have very distinct colors, like the blue and the pink, and it just goes on the tabletop so nicely. Khorne has red and Nurgle green, and Slaanesh. What would Slaanesh have? Purple, I guess, maybe
Pink or
purple. Yeah, I guess gods can share the same color.
Yeah,
nothing
I was
saying they
actually
can't.
thinking the same thing too when I was thinking about Tzeentch and Slaanesh and like what colors, because like Tzeentch does have like pink horrors and like is known for blue, and obviously the transitional color between pink and blue would be like a purple.
Yeah.
But they are suitable. Blue is also incidentally a pretty rare color in nature too, which is cool.
That's why they used to use blue screen back in the day instead of green screen. I mean, they still use blue screen sometimes because that form of blue just does not naturally occur as much.
Yeah, so there's
That's
no
so
no risk
crazy.
of washing out something else. Yeah.
Mhm.
Huh.
Okay, I gotta say this now because it's always scratching at the back of my mind. Mark, I told you I'd do this at some point. Keep going back to the ocean and the warp thing. I was trying to save this for another episode. I gotta talk about the ships. Mark, can I go on a quick side tangent? Because
Yeah,
I gotta say this. Okay, I don't know if it's just me, but recently I came to the discovery of the inspiration of Imperial Gothic ships, with a very interesting prow shape, like they're very unique design.
Their silhouette.
Yeah, their
is
silhouette
very
is very
specific.
distinct. Yeah. And I was always wondering, I'm like, 40K obviously draws a lot of inspiration from different things. Like, what is this thing? It looks vaguely familiar, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Flip that ship upside down. What is it? It's a sailboat. It's a sail ship with the masts inverted to make the spires on the ship. 110%. They're all sail ships that have been flipped upside down and are floating through space like boats on the ocean. And I've been hanging on to this discovery for weeks. And,
Okay, yeah. I'm looking at it now. The man may be onto something. He
Yeah,
also might be
okay.
possessed by Tzeentch. Hard to say.
Yeah. I would love to
110%.
see how this originated, where like somebody's original design was just the ship vibe, and then they brought it to James' workshop or whoever was in charge
Yeah.
at the time, and like the model broke, and they like, oh shit, just glued it upside down in accident. He's like, fuck that, that's great, I love it, let's do it. And they're like,
Let's throw it in
but
space.
it's yeah, perfect, good.
Yeah, 110%.
Yeah.
Okay,
And,
I think I found for everyone a screen to share.
I thought you were going to say something like, it's a fucking bird, man.
It's a
Christian was like,
bird.
it's a bird.
It's all birds all the way down. Yeah. No, every episode I want to bring it up and everyone starts talking about the ocean. I'm like, I got to save it for like an actual Imperial ship episode. But I don't know if I can wait that long, man.
Yeah.
Like,
it looks like
Okay.
you're right, though, because what it really looks like is the most fucked up cruise ship you could ever be on upside down.
Yeah.
It is the Carnival
Nice,
Cruise
yeah,
from
yeah.
hell.
Yeah. But and it just
All you
feeds
can
in.
eat corpse starch though. So
That's right.
that is nice.
Yep.
It just goes back into the whole theme of like the warping and ocean, and these ships are traversing the ocean. Like it's all oceans, man. That's what it is. It's all water.
It's
That's
oceans
right.
all the way down.
Okay. Anyways, let's get back to topic here. Tzeentch and the sacred number 9. 9 is the number most sacred to the Changer of Ways. It is only upon tracing the 9th sigil that the runes of a change scroll begin to glow, morphing into their true nature. There are 9 distinct rites an acolyte must master before he can unlock the secrets that will permit him to pierce the veil, a process that will allow a worthy aspirant to draw upon the boundless energies of the Immaterium. To remain unbroken, a summoning symbol must contain 9 sequential rings, each perfectly executed in a 9-fold process. 9 are the chants of the Kariak cultists, and for casting, a coven of 9 is by far the most powerful of groupings. Yet it is not mortal rites alone that obey the great sorcerer's Enneatic rules. The number 9 can be found woven throughout the unfathomable and ever-changing structures of the Architect of Fate's own realm within the warp. The Lords of Change, the greatest servants of Tzeentch and commanders of his convocations, are ordered within 9 levels of trust, all seeking their master's favor, and those in ascendancy rule the 9 fractal fortresses. Beneath each of those most exalted are 999 legions, each divided into 9 hosts. It is said that when demons are slain, their immortal spirit appears within the impossible fortress, arriving before their maker from one of the ever-shifting 9 gates, there to be either reformed or reabsorbed by the will of Tzeentch. There are also 9 rings for the race of men.
Hell yeah.
Triple nerdin'.
Attaboy. It's man, it's just so funny to think that like, so there was 999 legions. Is that what we just said?
Yeah.
Like, so the 100th one is forming, and then like the right-hand man of Tzeentch is like, whoa, what the fuck is happening here? disband. We don't do that. Like everything's in nines.
Only nines, please.
Nines.
Yeah.
Just and you know what's crazy too? Check this out. I don't know if you guys have ever done this before, but so if you take the number 9 and you turn it upside down, you get 6. Changer of ways.
Change.
Tzeentch, boom. And check this out, ready? If you
Okay.
take that 6, which was originally upside down 9, much like Christian's Battlefleet Gothic ships, okay? You take that 6, I'm going to form it like this, and you just change it ever so slightly. You get the letter G for Gothic, Battlefleet Gothic, upside down ships. The warp is a fucking ocean. Tzeentch.
Yeah. We did it.
We did it, guys.
We solved Warhammer.
Yes. I love it. Wow.
Oh.
So now I understand. I didn't know he had a sacred letter of G as well. I definitely knew about the number.
The G is silent in Tzeentch and not even seen. It's in the word Tzeentch. You just never see it.
And it changes position every time too, technically.
That's right.
And who are we to say which position it is every time we write it down? That's why we
know.
typically don't write it down as humans.
That's right.
Yeah.
Lest we offend.
Lest we offend. Fuzz in the chat says 9 was also associated with Odin in Norse mythology, and he's the god of runes and magic. So another 9 connection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And all the gods have a sacred number.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get into the other ones, obviously, on their own episodes, but here we're all about the 9s. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I'm still reading. Sacred color. Tzeentch, the Changer of Ways, is most commonly associated with the vibrant shades of blue and pink, often accented with gold and purple. These colors reflect the ever-shifting arcane nature of the chaos god of change, sorcery, and deception. Blue, in its many hues, from deep indigo to shimmering turquoise, represent knowledge, magic, and the fluidity of fate, while pink embodies mutation, transformation, and the unpredictable whims of the warp. Gold and purple often highlight the mystical grandeur and eldritch power of Tzeentch's followers, reinforcing their ambition and pursuit of hidden truths. These sacred colors swirl and shift unpredictably, mirroring the ever-changing schemes and illusions of the architect of fate. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you think when painting an army of Tzeentch, you need a reason to change their demons from purple and blue to, let's say, green? Or like, how do you feel about that? He is a changer of ways, but also like these colors, these themes. It's like in my mind, it's like, okay, when you're playing tabletop, you better believe I'm putting down a squad of 9 Tzeentch and blue horrors, not 10, like you said.
Yeah.
So do you feel like, because it is a magical kind of like connection thing, these colors, these symbols, these meanings, they do mean stuff. So how do you feel about that concept of the colors actually strict colors, blues and purples only, sir?
I'm open to the idea of being other colors. I think some yellow horrors could look pretty cool.
So. The thought, maybe let me refrain, not that there wouldn't be other colors, but if there were different colors, they would be less powerful, and maybe only just a tiny bit, maybe only that little percentage point. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, could be.
I think to even associate with those two colors is accurate and inaccurate. It's everything. It's changing. Like it is, but like
I haven't even been paying attention this whole time. If I haven't,
it's those two are prominent, I think, and there's probably reasons that we cannot fully comprehend. Like we talk about it. Pink embodies mutation. Well, pink is also the color of uncooked chicken and the chicken of Changer of Ways. The big bird, but like it's almost a moot point. Like, I think it's a cool thing to try and incorporate different colors in your color scheme if you want to do a Tzeentch army. And I've even seen a buddy of mine do like this. I forget the company that offers it. There is a miniature paint brand that does this
color
transitional color. Yeah, it's a color shifting.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really cool. Like in one light, you can see it one way. And then when you change it, when you change the angle, it changes the hue of the color. It's beautiful. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's what I would do, man. Freaking
Yeah.
color changing.
Yeah,
And
okay.
I'd stick, you could even do the pink and blue color shift paint.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think at one point I think Green Stuff World used to carry it,
Yeah, that
but I
sounds
don't know if
right.
they still do.
I'll
Yeah.
find
Yeah,
out what it
that'd be
is,
wild.
but yeah. And if
And
you
I'm
really want
telling
to
you, man,
embody,
that model is going to be more powerful. I'm telling you.
Your
It's going to
dice
have a
rolls are going to be
different
much
energy
better.
to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
for sure.
if you really want to embody Tzeentch while you're playing on the table, though, just like start switching models out for different models. Like you're playing
Every-
blue horrors, and then the next
Yeah,
round
yeah.
you're playing them and they're guardsmen. You're like, well, what the fuck? Like, hey,
It's
man,
so funny.
I don't know
Take
what
it
you're
to
talking
one,
about.
take it to another level and start throwing down risk pieces or like Monopoly pieces down.
Yes.
Yeah,
Get off the table. Stop putting people on the table. Fuck.
just start
Listen,
gaslighting him
Homer.
because he's
Yeah.
the lord of gaslighting.
The Lord of Gaslight. All right, up next we got his philosophy. Tzeentch, the chaos god of change, fate, and sorcery, has many competing philosophy among his followers. His worshippers are driven by ambition, knowledge, and ever-changing tides of destiny. Here are three predominant philosophies they might follow. The path of the great architect, and this kind of represents manipulation and grand design. So if you're like obsessed with like fate, essentially, like what is it going to be? Maybe this is kind of the vibe you go for. Followers of this philosophy believe that Tzeentch has an intricate, unknowable plan that spawns across the entire cosmos. They see themselves as agent of this plan, subtly influencing events to create upheaval and progress. To them, every scheme, no matter how small, is part of a greater tapestry. Some manipulate politics while others steer entire civilizations toward inevitable conflict, all in the name of the ever-changing plan of their god. Yeah, so just plots and schemes, that kind of doctrine. The next one is the doctrine of endless ascension, and this kind of represents self-perfection and knowledge. This path appeals to sorcerers, scholars, ambitious individuals who seek ultimate power and knowledge. They believe change is the only true constant, that through mastery of sorcery, technology, or strategy, they can evolve beyond mortal limitations. These followers see themselves as seekers of enlightenment, though many fall victim to their own unchecked ambition, mutating into horrifying forms or losing themselves to the madness of the warp. Yeah, I like this one, how quick it is to like, yeah, you just swap out one arm for a cool chaos mutation. And you're like, oh, that worked out pretty well. And then you swap out your other arm, and it's like, oh, great, now I literally got a fish fin. And you're like, well, now I gotta keep rolling that dice till I get something good again to balance out the fucking fish fin. And then by the time you're done, you're not even recognizable anymore.
These are the
Tzeentch is happy.
gifts. That's the
These are the gifts.
Yeah.
The next one is the change of chaos itself. Or the chaos of change itself. And this is anarchy or pure mutation. Some worshippers embrace Tzeentch as the embodiment of pure, unchecked change. To them, stability and order are abhorrent, and they seek to create chaos for its own sake. Whether through mutation, destruction of institutions, or warping of reality itself, these zealots revel in the ever-shifting nature of existence. They care little for the grand schemes of ascension, only in ensuring that nothing remains the same for long. That one's kind of almost like malice. But we've talked so many times about how one god and another god can both draw the same power from one action, and it might split that soul in half as they, tear at the scraps like a rabid dog. So yeah, when I hear chaos for change itself, that's such a malice kind of concept, but change can have it too, for sure.
I don't view them as having such harsh distinctions all the time either. Like you said, like I think there's a lot of crossover, and while some are more obvious than others, but like change is constant. Like,
Yeah.
which already that sentence right there sounds very Tzeentch, but like any of the chaos gods are going to kind of affect the others and feed off of the others in certain ways. Like I cut off this dude's head. Cool. Khorne be praised. But check it out. He was living and now he's dead. There's a little bit of change. And maybe the scheme that I used in order to sneak up on him, there's so much crossover,
And then naturally, You did something unspeakable to his corpse, didn't you, Court?
Yeah,
And
I
that
did.
worshipped Slaanesh.
There it is. Slaanesh. And then the blood soaked into the ground and maybe some sort of, bacteria and whatnot gave it life and whatnot. So there we go. It's just
Perfect.
Yeah.
chaos all around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also like another overlap is like that ambition part, like Tzeentch and Slaanesh very much overlap in that area as well. But yeah, I like what you're saying, Cord, about things not being like very like hard and fast rules about their domains. They're chaotic, right? Like it makes sense that their rules are a little bit flexible and they kind of mold and bend into each other.
Yeah.
Purge in the comments said Tzeentch is the CIA. 110%.
Yeah.
Confirmed.
Before we talk about the realms, I picture this, and I said it on the last episode, just how realms kind of shift power, where they're touching. You got these different colors, and as they bump into other ones, they consume them and shift colors, and will kind of spread like a wave across all these different colors. The other kind of thought too with sorcery, with the realms, is just with Tzeentch being able to with them being able to kind of manipulate different realms and stuff, each one kind of appears to us how we think it appears. So some of these aren't like actual things. This just kind of takes our mindset. Like the warp is a different universe entirely. So keep that in mind when we go into these. They're like human comprehension of what these things are.
Yeah, there's only so much that we can actually, as humans, comprehend and see. There's frequencies that I will never be able to hear in my life. There's color spectrums that just, I would never be able to see ever. So I think that's a good point, Mark. So if we get into the realms here, created from the raw energy of the warp, Tzeentch's realm is one of constant flux and shifting structures hewn spontaneously from every material imaginable. There, the only one constant is change. Boom. Like we just said before. Yeah. There it is. No mortal and few demons can visit the realm of the Raven God and survive with sanity intact. And this was a quote by Inquisitor Gillian Kais Ordo Malleus. As Tzeentch takes 1,000 forms, each more fluid and deceitful than the last, so too does his dominion within the realm of chaos shift in ceaseless flux. The realm of the sorcerer is not a place nor even a singular vision. It is a kaleidoscope of scheming intention, a reflection of the changer's ever-twisting designs, a space that reshapes itself with each new whim, each new strand woven into the webs of his 1,001 plots. Mortal minds, humans, Xenos, even demons can grasp but the barest fragment of its true nature, and even the fragment is little more than self-deception, a feeble attempt to define the undefinable. Some, both scholars and the rarest of survivors, whisper that only the most potent of the lords of change could hope to perceive the realm in its entirety. For all others, the very act of witnessing it is the first step towards madness. What little can be understood is mere slivers of crystal mirage, a single facet of an infinity of faces, glimpsed for a moment before it shifts into something new, something contradictory, and something ruinous. Even the means by which mortals attempt to describe Tzeentch's realm betray their own futility. To sculpt with fog, to describe a dream as it unfolds, to sing in silence, to paint with mist, such paradoxes are only the tools available to those who seek to convey what should never be comprehended. The great ocean of the warp is chaos distilled, and at its heart, the domain of the architect of fate is the most distilled madness of all. All an essence of impossible, corruptive transformation given form. So, geez, if you're not fucking insane by half of this, check yourself, people. Check yourself. Like
Yeah.
it's such a beautiful, like there's so many things that we've said in here that just form this beautiful poem. And these, I think, are great examples of the I kind of said it before, like the whispers, the fragility that is Tzeentch and the change. And like, if you ever want to just sound really cool, man, print up some of these things here. Go to like a coffee house and like start speaking this crap, man. Here you go.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm going to tell you about Tzeentch. Here we go. Snap, snap. Thank you. Here we go. Like, boom, you'll be the greatest
Yeah.
poet just speaking this stuff on stage.
For sure, for sure. And then you go behind the back and you find the crew smoking the green, and they'll be asking each other such questions like, "Yeah, do you think Tzeentch can like comprehend himself?" Like Fuzz says in the chat.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting question, actually, Fuzz. Yeah, does Tzeentch know? Can he comprehend his own schemes, or is it all just like madness and like by the time he thinks of one scheme, he's already 50 schemes down the line type thing, and he forgot about the last one. What do you think of that kind of?
I think to comprehend, if Tzeentch feeds off of change and chaos and stuff, comprehension is the opposite of that. I think it's self-fulfilling to only know part of oneself that way. So to even have the idea that like, yep, I completely understand myself. There it is. There's nothing to it. I've got all 1,001 plans laid out, and or 999, right? And they all look good. And here we go. Like that, I don't think serves the flavor nor the persona of Tzeentch. But if you wanted to flip it on its head, then maybe full comprehension is what drives that chaos, that it is unfulfilling because it already has answers. It already knows oneself. So the motivation to be chaotic comes from the lack of chaos, the comprehension that Tzeentch has of oneself. Tzeentch be praised.
You're gonna drive yourself
Seems to be
crazy.
pretty-
I know.
Like
I started going that way.
He's channeling. He's channeling.
It's just like Jordan with his Nurgle speech. Once he starts going, you get possessed. Someone mentioned the Alpha Legion in the chat, and I always thought Alpha Legion wouldn't be a bad candidate for being more Tzeentch inspired, but they don't have a they're not like the Tzeentch faction, but they certainly fit the bill.
Yeah. What about Alpha Legion and Malice?
I like Malice being the idea of anarchy for anarchy's sake. Tzeentch is like the schemer, and then Malice is like there is no plan; it just is. Like
Yeah.
like
Okay.
the Dark Knight Joker. Like I'm just gonna cause chaos for chaos's sake.
Yeah.
But a couple other thoughts too is Tzeentch just being the definition of a paradox. Like these questions you guys are asking, these like big philosophical thoughts is like that Tzeentch's very being is paradoxical. He's like unknown and knowable. He's both things at the same time. Like, yeah. He's a paradox incarnate. All right. Let's go into the maze of Tzeentch, also known as the Crystal Labyrinth. The Crystal Labyrinth sprawls across a shimmering, iridescent expanse, a grand illusion made manifest, where streets of shifting crystal gleam in colors unseen by mortal eyes. To those who would navigate its twisting paths, know this: its roads are not mere avenues, but deceptions given form, a latticework of falsehoods and schemes that stretch beyond its borders, entwining even the fractured dominions of the other ruinous powers. At the heart of the endless kaleidoscope maze lies the impossible fortress, veiled in mystery, and the hidden library, whose tomes whisper truths that would unmake the mind. Unlike the martial citadels of its kin, this realm of sorcery and treachery needs no warriors at its gates, for its very nature repels those too weak to perceive its true design. Its corridors, like mirrors polished from the fabric of dreams, do not merely reflect light, but cast back the deepest yearnings, twisting them into cruel parodies of what might have been. Hopes curdle into torment, ambitions spiral into madness, and those who dare step within find themselves ensnared not only by chains, but by their own shattered aspirations. The labyrinth shifts and reconfigures, never bound to a single shape, its paths rewriting themselves with every whim, the great deceiver. One moment, a way forward beckons, the next it collapses into a dead end, its hapless travelers left to wander, lost in its eternity's unbroken snare. Yet whispers speak of a hidden path, a secret passage woven into the labyrinth's ever-changing design. This road, they say, winds toward infinite knowledge, marked by 9 golden gates, each 3 times the height of a man. But such enlightenment is not freely given. At every threshold stands the guardian of the maze, who poses a question, a riddle laced with fate's barbs. Answer correctly, and the way opens. Fail, and the labyrinth claims yet another mind, another soul, and another echo of despair lost to time. Only once, if the legends can be believed, has any soul answered all 9 riddles and stepped beyond the final gate. A girl, young and unassuming, with a small black dog at her side. Her fate, like all things within the grasp of Tzeentch, remains a mystery. Perhaps even to the great changer himself. Itself. That's totally a Wizard of Oz.
I was gonna say it's Dorothy.
Yeah.
It's fucking Dorothy, right? Yeah.
The Golden Road was the path to Tzeentch all along, and the wizard at the end of the Crystal
Mhm.
City.
And the witches were the sacrifices along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very cool. Obviously, like a labyrinth totally makes sense for a creature, an entity such as this. And the cool thing with like the riddle that's at the gates, I've never actually watched it, but that Labyrinth movie with
David Bowie.
Yeah, David Bowie. It's
Yeah.
always been on my to-do list, and I've never actually sat down to watch it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
But don't they have like that whole riddle gate scene
Mhm.
where like they have the 2 knights? I think they're knights, anyways, and one's like everything I say is a lie, and the other
They're
one's like
door
everything I say
knockers.
is true. Okay,
Yeah, but
yeah,
yeah.
it is like a common riddle.
Mhm.
Where one says that everything they say is a lie, and the other one says everything they say is true, and you have to try and figure out which one is lying, and
Yep.
like you have to choose which path, and you'll die if you go to the wrong one. And even like the riddle of the Sphinx and stuff are like definitely drawn from mythology, where like there's a gatekeeper who asks you questions, and yeah, it's cool.
The chat really likes that movie. I think, yeah, we all have to watch that now. All of a
Oh, it's a
sudden.
Goblin.
classic. Yeah.
Okay.
Have you seen it, Mark? I don't think it's a movie you would have watched.
No, I definitely am aware of it, but like you, Christian, it's on that list, but just never quite.
Never got around to it. Yeah.
But
I would love to know what you think, though, because it is
Okay.
classic and like legendary, and it's David Bowie at one of his finest. But I feel like at the end of it, you'd be like, "What the fuck did I just watch?"
Yeah, and that's what people say. You know, you definitely got to either drop some acid or you
Yeah.
know, smoke some reefer for that one. But
It's Liars just. I was literally just gonna break out into dance, magic dance. That Liars says it right there. Oh, it's so. And I was listening to Bowie last night. I was listening to David Bowie last night a lot. It's one of my favorite.
You are ensnared by Tzeentch.
I
That's
am,
the way
man.
to
It's just
feel.
all connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Impossible Fortress. At the heart of the Crystal Labyrinth, concealed from all but those whose madness has sharpened into revelation, rises the Impossible Fortress, a citadel of ever-mutating insanity. No fixed design endures for long. Its spires coil skyward, only to collapse into new, ever more maddening shapes. Gates gape wide like ravenous maws, beckoning the foolish forward, only to snap shut in an instant, sealing themselves away for all eternity. To those who seek passage, there is no certainty, only the fleeting illusion of it. Within its walls, time is an absent lie. Space is a cruel jest. Gravity is a capricious thing, shifting on the whim or vanishing altogether. From its fluid, architectural spill cascades of light similar to those other bearings hues that defy mortal comprehension, burning holes in reason itself. The fortress is no mere structure. It is a paradox given form, a nightmare sculpted from relentless imaginings of the changer of ways. For those bound to flesh and linear thought, the impossible fortress is an impenetrable madness. The mind fractures, the body collapses, imploding, unraveling, reshaping into something unrecognizable. Even demons, undying and formless as they are, cannot traverse this domain without risk. Only the lords of change, those most favored by the architect of fate, can walk its shifting passageways unharmed, navigating the secret pathways that twist ever inward toward the hidden library. And there, within the crypt of knowledge, behind the doors that have never been opened and yet always appear ajar, that's mildly infuriating. Tzeentch, with the grand manipulator, the puppeteer of infinity, broods over the endless skeins of fate, weaving his machinations into the very fabric of existence. Cool. Like, yeah, these fortresses, you look at them, your mind implodes, your sanity crumbles, all of that. But we do have some demons that can walk these hallways. All these dark ancient secrets that they hold.
Yeah. I was also thinking of the madness aspect, Mark, when we were talking about kind of the themes of Tzeentch, which is another component to it too, of like, what is it, Shigarath from Elder Scrolls? Like,
yeah, sure,
an embodiment of madness itself too, right? Like your mind just cannot comprehend. Yeah.
I'm thinking about the Wabbajack now from Skyrim, but that's maybe not quite the same. That's more of a chaos for chaos's sake one, hey?
Yeah, that might be more Malal, but again, why they don't need to have these
why
hard
limit?
elements. Yeah.
Yep. Definitely. Again, like Liar's on it here. It's very mountains of madness, absurd architecture, just a lot of things that confuse you entirely. Yeah, you highlight it there, Mark. Like it's true. It's things that should not make sense and yet are there. Very cool.
Yeah.
The Wabbajack does change things, though, Buzz said. So there we go.
Is the Wabbajack the staff, by the way? Like I haven't played Skyrim in a while. It's the staff that like just like fucks things up into different form.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely a Tzeentch artifact.
Yeah, I never equipped it, I don't think.
But also the thing you're saying about impossible architecture, there's like that famous painting with all the stairs going in different directions, and you know, you have like like those illusions, like impossible object illusions, where like, yeah, that shouldn't work. Those things don't fit like that in reality, but they do,
or like
somehow.
Yeah, or when you look at it, like it is one thing and you kind of go slightly over, it's a different thing, blends perfectly.
Yeah.
MC Escher, you're right, Fuzz. Yep, that's very prolific artist that has that vibe. Yeah. So let's get into the hidden library. Let's start reading. Dewey Decimal System at its finest, gentlemen. Here we go. Hidden library. The Hidden Library of Tzeentch is an archive unlike any other, a vast, unfathomable repository containing every whisper of knowledge, every fleeting thought, every secret uttered in darkness, hoarded from the minds of every being across the tides of time and space. It is here, within the ever-expanding labyrinth of forbidden truths, that the architect of fate weaves his ineffable schemes, scribing and unwriting destinies with each passing moment. The library festers at the very core of the impossible fortress, buried deep within the maze of Tzeentch, its existence guarded by the spiraling madness of the towers of Helexis. Within its shifting corridors, countless pink and blue horrors toil in ceaseless frenzy, their manic energy spent upon an endless task that can never hope to be complete. They do not merely tend to the library's tomes, they are ensnared by them. The books whisper back, weaving lies and within lies, spinning webs of falsehood and deceit that ensnare their keepers in a fate as inevitable as it is cruel. Bound in a cycle of treachery and obsession, the demons fade into nothingness, their essence devoured by the library itself, their last desperate screams recorded upon the pages that will ensnare the next unwitting victims. And if one of your books is overdue, you're fucked.
Lot of change comes to your door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a great one of the Warhammer Plus shows from Hammer and Bolter, I think it is. One of the first ones was this, and I don't want to spoil. Well, fuck it, I'm gonna spoil it anyways. There's a great little short that's this imperial, like, I don't know, almost like librarian. He's like kind of this monk, and he's in this library, and all he does is fucking count these books to make sure. And I know this isn't Tzeentch's library, but it's the vibe. And then yep, here it is. They're all in order, and he does this for thousands upon thousands of just huge shelves and everything of these books. And then one day he gets to one, and there's a number missing. There's a book missing, and he's like looking around, like, oh fuck, oh shit, oh god, oh no. And then I believe it comes back, and he opens it up. Either way, he opens this book, and it's like this forbidden knowledge, and he ends up like turning into some horrific thing from Tzeentch and whatnot. But it's so cool to think that Tzeentch has this quote unquote library, and I think we're just calling it library in the sense of that's what we can comprehend again. But this gives a really good idea of how knowledgeable Tzeentch is. Every deceit, every like whisper, everything that has been recorded, everything that's been, spoken is recorded here. And it's fucking beautifully terrifying.
Yeah, I just picture the scribes, the guy like writing it down so chaotically and just throwing pages behind him like without a care, because that's not his job. He can't focus on that. He has to write down everything that happens. Yeah. Throwing pages behind, all the demons behind him are shuffling, like going, arranging pages across the library. Yeah, very cool spot.
Yeah.
There's in real life, actually, there's a website. And I can't remember if it was the Library of Babel or the Infinite Library, that literally contains like every possible combination of the English alphabet and words. So like any sentence that ever can exist has already been written in this. And you can actually go into it and look up, like you could write a whole book and it will all be in that Infinite Library. It's online, and it'll show you like digitally archived, like what volume it's in, like where any combination of phrase or anything in the English language, like now you can have no true unique thought, because when you type it into this website, like it already exists there somewhere.
That's
it's like an
crazy
infinite archive about. Yeah, it
blows
wild.
my
It's
mind.
Like no more
and, like
no
this
more
is real.
Original thoughts. Yeah, holy fuck, that's crazy to think.
You can go in there. Yeah.
Well,
I don't want to. Here, fuck that.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that, Christian.
Yeah. It's the whole reason this podcast, so that I can promote it out into the ether, and everyone out there too can go mad thinking about fate. And well, if it all exists in that infinite library, do I have control over anything in my life? Is it all preordained?
It's done. The mere fact that you've mentioned it is the idea, and the idea can never,
exactly.
like, jeez,
be unknown.
Yeah.
Now I gotta go home and beat my dog or something. Thanks a lot.
It's in the book, Mark.
It's all in the book.
Your fate's already written. All right, let's get away from some scary books and talk about the rivalries.
They never did me any good, those fucking books.
Burn them, I say, burn them all. The Changer of Ways moves in eternal opposition to the Plague Lord, just as the Blood God rages against the Prince of Excess. Where Nurgle festers in decay and welcomes the inevitability of entropy, Tzeentch writhes in perpetual transformation, a force of ceaseless motion and unseen potential. Despair and stagnation are Nurgle's sustenance. Ambition and metamorphosis are the architect of fate's domain. Where the grandfather of rot embraces the end of all things, The great schemer exults in the endless spiraling paths of becoming. I guess another existential thought is like Tzeentch will eventually, no, sorry, Nurgle will eventually win this battle because of the heat death of the universe. Everything will eventually fizzle out, and there will be no more motion, no more change. Every molecule in the galaxy will finally stop at rest
And be spent,
yeah, and there will be nothing. So another
Well,
fun
isn't
thing.
that nice?
Yeah.
That's not
Thanks,
our problem,
Christian.
though. We just gotta worry about other things, like
Yeah.
I don't know.
The next 50 years at most.
Yeah,
That's all you got to worry about. But anyways, to those who study the ruinous powers, the opposition of these two seems inevitable. Their philosophies bound in a struggle that neither can ever truly win. False. Nurgle's going to win. Tzeentch's labyrinthine plans unravel in the face of Nurgle's unthinking, inexorable corruption, while the Plague Lord's virulent grip is pried apart by the ever-branching chaos of change. The minions of these dark gods clash as often with each other as they do with the Imperium and the other wretched species that litter the galaxy. Yeah. And yet, for all their enmity with the Lord of Decay, it is Tzeentch who whispers most often in the ears of other Chaos gods, his influence stretching even into their domains. There are moments, rare and terrible, when the great game demands that the ruinous powers act in unison, as they did in the days of the Horus Heresy. And it is always the changer of ways who binds them together in uneasy alliance. But let no fool mistake such unity for true concord. Tzeentch moves only for his own unknoble ends, and though the gods may march together for a time, the final step of the dance is his alone to dictate. Sorry, I did mention that Nurgle would win in that, but I guess if there was a heat death of the universe, all chaos would cease, and so all the chaos gods would also lose, which is probably what they're trying to prevent as well. Man, I'm having an existential crisis while we're going through this.
This is a rough one.
Yeah.
Someone give Christian
Breaking
a
my
hug.
mind.
Oh no.
Right. His preferred ally. Tzeentch, the Changer of Ways, has no true ally among the Chaos Gods, as his nature is one of constant scheming, deception, and ambition, making him inherently untrustworthy even among his own kind. His most direct rival is Nurgle, whose philosophy of stagnation and acceptance directly opposes Tzeentch's love for change and progress, while he occasionally cooperates with Slaanesh and Khorne when their interests align. Such alliances are fleeting and often doomed to betrayal. If Tzeentch could be said to have a preferred god, it would only be in the sense that he finds Khorne the easiest to manipulate, exploiting the blood god's hatred of sorcery to turn his wrath against mutual foes. Ultimately, Tzeentch serves only himself, viewing all others, even his fellow chaos gods, as pieces in his grand, ever-shifting game. Yeah.
Yeah, the gods, by very nature, they can't hold alliances, They can for brief flickers in time, but ultimately it all fades always. It's fun to think that Tzeentch likes to use Khorne every now and again just because it's easy to, exploit him.
Yeah.
But the smart kid at school,
Baiting the
exploiting the
bully.
jock.
Yeah.
A tale as old as time. Yeah.
That's right.
It is funny to think of Khorne as like a very direct god, like you know what you're getting. He's not gonna lie to you. It's really horrific what he wants, but it is.
He just wants your skull. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Just give him it.
Just give
You
him.
know what you're getting.
Yeah.
Tzeentchian demons. Like all the ruinous powers, Tzeentch commands innumerable host of servants, from demons born of his own unfathomable will to the mortal wretches who dance upon the strings of fate, oblivious to the unseen hand guiding their every step. Whether bound to him by devotion, desperation, or unwitting design, all who serve the change of ways are pieces in a game whose rules will never fully comprehend. The demons of Tzeentch manifest in forms as varied and contradictory as the gods they serve. No two are truly alike, their shape, intellects, and autonomy shifting according to their function in the grand, intricate web of schemes. Perhaps more so than any of the other dark gods, the architect of fate shapes his minions with endless variance, though certain aspects remain constant. These creatures of the immaterium are ephemeral, invaders of reality, their presence in the material plane an aberration, sustained only under precise and volatile conditions. The walls between the realms must fracture. A sorcerer's whispers incantations, a cultist's reckless ritual, an uncontrolled eruption of a psyker's mind, and some greater calamity weakening the veil. When such opportunities arise, the demons of change slither, flicker, and crawl their way into existence, twisting the laws of reality to accommodate their impossible forms. Yet, even in real space, their nature defies the crude limitations of the physical. Poisons and decay, weapons of entropy and rot hold no power over them, for they are creatures of raw, boundless thought given shape. And though their presence is transient, they do not fade easily. Only the searing touch of a psyker's wrath, the bite of a force weapon, or the radiance of a truly sacred weapon can truly unveil these manifestations of Tzeentch's will. Cool. Yeah, we know some demons definitely kind of have styles for their god, and some model their demons after themselves, like Nurgle and the greater demons. They look very much alike. But yeah, with Tzeentch, they're all shifting all the time, and there might be a couple that have a preferred kind of shape, but once again, that's just what our minds can kind of comprehend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's no real default, like you're saying, Mark. There's just not
No.
always yeah. There's nothing that it just kind of stays with. So let's talk demon princes then. And this is a fun section. And big shout out to my buddy Joey. I have not mentioned in this episode. He's like the Tzeentch guy. He's the Tzeentch guy at the shop when we play. And like every AOS, if he's playing Age of Sigmar, it's Tzeentch. If he's playing 40k, it's probably Tzeentch. Like it's pretty cool. So
Nice.
demon princes of Tzeentch. A demon prince of Tzeentch is not merely a warlord elevated to demonhood, but a schemer so refined, so insidiously brilliant, that even the architect of fate deemed them worthy of ascension. Their forms are fluid things, shifting from one moment to the next, adorned with ever-morphing sigils of eldritch power. Many retain the avian characteristics favored by Tzeentch: elongated limbs, clawed talons, and visible and beaked visages that grin with knowing malice. But nothing about them remains fixed. Kind of like you were saying, Mark, there's just no singular default. Their flesh ripples with the color of an unseen spectrum. Their eyes hold depths where futures collapse and reform, and their very presence bends reality to the whims of their sorcery. Unlike the blunt monstrosities of Khorne or the corpulent horrors of Nurgle, these beings are subtle and precise, waging war through deception, misdirection, and the cruel elegance of spellcraft. That there is, again, just what a beautiful picture. Like it's so elegant, and it's so I don't want to say, I keep saying fragile. It's really not, but it's just this beautiful dance of shapes and things like that. And magic. Like if you guys haven't really gotten it by this point in the episode, sorcery, magic, witchcraft, spellcraft. There you go.
Change.
That is it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. But for all their power, no demon prince of Tzeentch is truly free. Their ascension binds them even greater and deeper into the schemes of their master, their will an extension of a greater unknowable design. Each word they speak is layered with meaning, every gesture a move in a game only they understand. Their armies march not for conquest, but for the unfolding of prophecies yet to be realized. To serve them is to tread a path of ever-shifting alliances, of whispered secrets that worm into the mind and take root. Those who face them in battle find themselves ensnared in a war already lost before it even began. For to strike at such a being is to play into their hands, to follow a script written in the ink of madness and inevitability. To witness a demon prince of Tzeentch is to glimpse fate in the rawest form, a destined, already decided, and a doom already sealed. Well, now I gotta fucking look up this model, like, because I truly cannot think of a demon prince of Tzeentch model. I don't know why. If that's just
I don't think they officially have one, is the thing. And
that, okay,
they've done
that's
some
probably
kind
why.
of upgrade kits, but I feel like they're more, you see the Nurgle one, you see the Khorne one, but I don't think you really get the Slaanesh or the Tzeentch one.
And that's probably
Yeah.
just it's so hard to nail down. We all know the is it the Lord of Change, the big bird,
Yeah.
right? But I think that lends itself to be so cool. Like if you guys are thinking of starting an army or just want to kit bash some shit, like the Tzeentch Demon Prince really allows itself to be something unique.
Yeah. It'd be cool to just kind of slap a bunch of bits together on almost like a portal, and it's just like a many weird shape. Like out of this portal, there's a leg coming out one, another mouth is coming out one. It's just like this shifting portally beast.
They have that sort of model concept with the endless spells in the Warhammer, the Age of Sigmar
Oh
line.
yeah.
So if you look up like the endless spells, there's like a spell book. There's like this portal with the two bird heads coming out and stuff. So there's a little bit of that, which is pretty sweet.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at that. That's sweet for sure.
In terms of models too, I was having the exact same thought. I'm like, man, I don't ever remember seeing a dedicated Demon Prince. That being said, like the Demon Prince models, both the older one and the newer one they came out with, theoretically are interchangeable under any god.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could craft them to be aligned with any god. But yeah, there's never really been like a very strong Tzeentch theme into it. Like you got to do some modifications to it.
It's
I'm just
really
browsing
not
through pictures too.
It's not even. I'd argue and say, like as much as I dig GW's models, like it's kind of a shit kit because it just feels so Khorne. Like it really does. Like you can model it to be kind of what you want and stuff, but like if you
Not
look
really,
at it, it just
though.
feels very Khorne. And I know that there's different like bits that you can use and stuff, but like not really. Like it's certainly not fucking Nurgle. Like it's not.
Yeah.
It's you maybe can go with the Slaanesh vibe, but like
Yeah, like I
no, it's
recall now
unique.
the hands that you're supposed to use for Tzeentch, and they just had a couple feathers poking off the elbow.
Yeah.
And that's all. And it's
Yeah,
like
you don't get feather wings, you don't get like a beak or a bird face. Like
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh, there is
we do
there is the bird though. No, don't they give you the bird head?
Yeah, maybe they do kind of give you this
I'm
weird
looking at it
beaky
here.
head.
does that
They-
come with the kit, or is that
Yeah, there's a
someone
bird head. It
slapping the
looks.
head on?
I gotta be honest. It looks stupid. I'm sorry. It looks really stupid.
Freaking gay bird head.
It looks like Kroot and Tau had a baby,
Mark,
Oh,
you got to pick
nice.
up that kit.
and the baby grew
I'm
up
on it.
and got really into like pop punk and dyed its mohawk purple. Like it just does not look cool.
I don't even want to look that head up. I think you did a great job describing it. Yeah.
There you go.
That image is perfect. That is Tzeentch. As we all picture it together, we're all picturing something slightly different.
That's right. Yeah.
All right, let's get into the greater demons. And of these, we do have models. Lords of Change. A Lord of Change is no mere beast of the Immaterium. It is the living embodiment of Tzeentch's endless schemes, a grand manipulator whose talons shape the fate of empires. Towering and gaunt, their avian forms are crowned with eyes that do not blink, for to close one's gaze is to momentarily risk ignorance. To the uninitiated, they may seem frail compared to the brutal, hulking forms of Khorne's bloodthirsters or the corpulent horrors of Nurgle, but such assumptions are fatal. Their strength does not lie in crude displays of violence, but in the boundless depths of their sorcery. They speak in riddles, their voices layered with meanings upon meanings, each word a strand in an unseen web of machinations spun across the aeons. To converse with one is to engage in a battle of wit and will, and few emerge unscathed. Lords of Change do not merely wield power, they are power incarnate, conduits through which the raw essence of the warp flows. With a flick of a claw, they can unravel minds, ignite entire regiments in warp fire, or reshape reality itself. Where they tread, time flows strangely. Prophecies shatter and reform, and the very concept of certainty erodes like sand in a storm. Yet, for all their arrogance and cunning, they remain but echoes of their master's will, mere fragments of Tzeentch's limitless intellect given form. To gaze upon one is to glimpse but a fraction of the Changer of Ways vision, and even that is enough to drive lesser minds into gibbering insanity. And they pretty much just look like giant vultures.
Yeah, just ready to feast on your soul after they make a deal.
Yeah.
That just is not good for you.
Yeah. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna leave a mark.
Tzeentch is the demon, and I believe there's a Lord of Change. It's been a little while since I saw that Amazon episode for the Space Marines. I believe there's a Lord of Change in there.
In that secret level thing?
Secret level, yeah.
Fuck, I still gotta see this.
Oh, you haven't watched it?
No, I know. I'm failing Logan and the rest of the community, but I keep forgetting.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Well, yeah. Spoiler.
Sweet. I'm excited.
Yeah. Lesser demons. Horrors. Lurking in the twisted currents of the warp, horrors are raw, unfiltered chaos given form. A ceaseless shifting mass of flesh, limbs, and grinning maws that cackle with unhinged glee as they unleash their unnatural fire. They do not march like soldiers nor attack with any sense of discipline, for such concepts are alien to them. Instead, they bound, dance, and flail across the battlefield in a lunatic's carnival, their bodies contorting and splitting with every movement. Each one is a riot of colors, pulsing contradictions of flesh and light, forever shifting between grotesque and sublime. They do not experience pain as mortals do. They revel in destruction, delight in confusion, and above all else, they embody the ever-changing nature of their patron. But to destroy a horror is a fool's triumph, for they do not die as other creatures do. Instead, they divide, spilling apart into lesser entities, each cackling and jeering at their would-be vanquisher. A pink horror, when slain, gives birth to two blue horrors, when in turn may become even smaller brimstone horrors, until the battlefield itself teems with a fractal storm of warp fire and insanity. To fight them is to battle an ocean with a sword. For every strike begets new horrors, every death bursts more madness. Victory in such a thing can only be claimed against them lies not in destruction, but in enduring their endless gibbering assault. Yeah, that's so crappy for demons. You're cutting them in half. They're just creating more. It's like you're swinging your sword, and it's like swing a bubble machine with just horrors appearing though.
That's a fucking great way to put it too. Like what a cool way. Yeah. But they are a terror on the table. Like I was playing against them. I think I was playing my buddy Joey and like again, like, all right, cool. How many did I kill? 3. Wait, what do you mean they split? Like they come back into this thing and now there's 2 of them. Like, oh, and now there's this. Like, it is.
And now the whole board is covered in these things.
Yeah, it's annoying as shit. And I think, and not to be the rules guy, but I think there was something in the change of 10th edition, which I'm sure Tzeentch be praised on the change there. But there was something you had to like roll for it, I think, and that was a big like, oh, that doesn't feel good. That you have to roll for it.
It's not like an automatic no more.
I forget. It was yeah. Again, I'm not the chaos guy, but it is a very cool mechanic. Very cool mechanic on the table. Like there it is. There you go.
Yep. Yeah.
So if we get into beasts here, we have the flamers. So again, Tzeentch heavily associated with fire and flame. To witness a flamer of Tzeentch in action is to behold a nightmare of impossible physics and unchecked hunger. These demons slither and twist unnaturally. Their elongated boneless forms undulating as though submerged in some unseen current. Their many gaping maws do not speak, for they have no words, no need for language, only the unrelenting compulsion to consume. What they exhale is no mere flame, but the raw essence of change itself, an unnatural, ever burning conflagration that does not merely scorch flesh, but warps it, twisting bone, melting armor, and reducing reality to a shifting, shrieking mass of impossible colors. These creatures do not hunt in the traditional sense, for they lack reason, strategy, or purpose beyond unmaking. Instead, they drift, darting erratically in unpredictable patterns, belching their unnatural flames in random directions, leaving trails of warp fire that defy all attempts to extinguish them. Those who survive, those who survive their, I just imagine like a guy with a fire extinguisher, like, nah, get out of here.
Yeah, trying to hunt down this floor horror as it burns down to town, just randomly appearing places. Like, fuck.
Those who survive their touch do not remain unchanged. Armor fuses to flesh, limbs become tentacles, faces melt into screaming, gaping maws. To be burned by a flamer is to be rewritten by the will of Tzeentch, reshaped into something new, something different. In this, their existence is an extension of their God's will, perpetual transformation, ceaseless change, and the utter impossibility of stability. And pretty sweet models, to be honest. Like, take a look at these if you guys haven't seen these before. They're older. They're definitely older, but they're still rad. Like, I painted some of these, I believe, for my buddy Joey, and like, I don't know how you really improve upon it much because like it's this weird bendy, hunched
Yeah.
over, flamey, shooty mouth. Like, what else are you gonna do? Like, that's kind of
Yeah.
it. It's right there.
Yeah, you're not crisping up that detail any. It's perfect how it is.
Yeah, yeah. I think to try and define it more is insanity itself.
Well
Yeah,
written.
there we go. Screamers. So the skies of the battlefield cursed by Tzeentch's touch are never silent, for the air itself becomes a hunting ground for the screamers, razor-finned nightmares that streak through the air, wailing with a sound that tears through the mind as keenly as their bladed bodies slice through flesh. These entities are not bound to the ground nor to the conventional rules of movement. They soar as they please, weaving through dimensions, slipping through the thin barriers between real space and the warp as effortlessly as a shark moves through water. Theirs is the art of predatory cruelty, for they do not kill with mercy or efficiency. They strike, wound, and retreat only to return again, each pass a new agony, each attack another scream added to the cacophony of suffering they so gleefully orchestrate. Yeah, I remember actually playing against these with my buddy Jason, and they're kind of a pain in the ass as well. And it's a cool flying model. It's pretty sweet. It's like it's I don't know. Go check it out. It's rad. Screamers do not hunt for sustenance, for they are not bound by such crude necessities. They do so for the sheer pleasure of destruction, for the exquisite agony of those beneath them. In their wake, trails of raw energy flicker and shift, reality rippling with the echoes of their passage. Some claim they whisper as they pass, their high pitched shrieks resolving into words that claw at the edges of sanity. Half heard bargains, promises of power, or cruel laughter at the folly of those who dare to fight back. To face them is to engage in a battle against an enemy that exists beyond reach, a foe whose joy is found in the slow realization that escape is impossible and death is neither swift nor kind.
Hmm.
Very cool.
Yeah. I loved in Space Marine 2 the hordes of these guys flying around where they're just swirling. Did either of you play it?
I've watched my friends play it, but I haven't seen it yet, so I got to look at it.
Yeah, fucking cool.
I
They
haven't seen
also
that part,
appear in bolt gun.
Mm.
Yeah, that like
But
Doom
but not as
Doom-esque
sleek in
wielding.
that game.
Not as sleek, but they still move pretty fluid.
Yeah.
Yeah, they totally look like mantas, and again, going with the whole
Yeah.
water and ocean theme, like they're definitely just air mantas with lots of teeth and barbs on the front.
And another older model that like I just don't see how you improve upon it much.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, and I very well could be because I was never really followed the demon models. I do believe Forge World had like a more refined version in resin.
Oh, okay.
That looked pretty good.
I don't
but
ever
yeah,
recall that.
overall, and again, I could be wrong. I'm drawing on like a vague memory, a thought, or a whisper that came to me. But I forgot what I was gonna say on that. I mean, I don't know how much more you can really improve on a manta with teeth design.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking terrifying. It's pretty rad. But gentlemen, I have to part ways and leave you there. I had a time crunch, and so I just wanted to change your expectations. Hail Tzeentch, and I'll have to jet at this point. But
well, we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for joining. This is perfect for Tzeentch because we're going to change out into having a guest from the call-in. So we'll replace Court with somebody random.
There we go. Tzeentch be praised. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, adios. See you next time. Having said that, I just dropped a link in the chat. If you want to kind of listen to me and Christian read the last couple parts and join in, you're more than welcome to. Christian, take us away. We're still going through the demons, and up next, we're talking about steeds.
Yeah, all right. So steeds, discs of Tzeentch. To those who pledge themselves to the architect of fate, the ultimate gift is not a weapon nor a boon of strength, but a means of to transcend the very ground beneath them. The discs of Tzeentch are no mere vehicles, but living entities, conjoined horrors of flesh and metal, sorcery and malice. Their bodies are a writhing mass of enchanted blades and screaming predatory hunger. Their forms molded from the essence of screamers, bound and reshaped by warpcraft. To ride upon one is not simply to move faster. It is to become part of the currents of destiny itself, an extension of the ever-changing will of the changer of ways. A rider upon a disc is not its master, but a partner in ruin, a chosen agent of change carried aloft by an entity that exists only to bring discord. They move with unnatural grace, gliding between the veils of reality, striking from above like lightning, even the lightning given thought. To see one descend is to witness a flurry of razor-edged limbs and screeching madness, a storm of sorcery and spinning death. A champion astride such a thing is more than a warrior. They are a living omen, a herald of upheaval, and the embodiment of Tzeentch's ceaseless, insidious design. Yeah, they were always a strange. I mentioned this when we were going over all the Chaos Gods. It always seemed like a strange mount when compared to like the other gods' steeds.
Sure, this like disc with like spikes on it. Yeah,
like it almost seems like it should be an upgrade that you can take rather than like something as powerful as like a juggernaut of Khorne. Like you barely register it as a mount. But it is a lot like, you kind of get like magic carpet vibe, like just floating along,
floating dais.
But they are. It is important to note that they are alive. They are a living entity themselves. The disc is.
Yeah, cool. Now we'll jump to demon engines, and I don't think there's a specific demon engine of Tzeentch out, but I could be wrong about that. But I don't think so. I think it's more just paint them kind of flavor.
Yeah.
Tzeentch's demon engines are nightmarish constructs of sorcery and warp-fueled ingenuity, far more than mere machines of war. Unlike the brutish fire-belching war engines of Khorne or the plague-ridden monstrosities of Norgal, Tzeentch's demon engines are sleek, elegant, and ever-shifting, their forms twisting unpredictably in battle. Many of these arcane war machines hover over the battlefield, defying gravity with unnatural ease. Their bodies a fusion of enchanted metal, bound demons, and constantly mutating sorceress energy. Their weapons are not crude cannons or chainsaws, but devastating warp fire projectors, reality warping beams, and living magical constructs that lash out with malevolent intelligence. Every shot from the arcane weaponry is an extension of Tzeentch's will, capable of unraveling flesh and mind and soul in an instant. To face such an engine is to confront something that should not exist, an entity that does not merely kill, but reshapes the victim according to the ever-shifting whims of the changer of ways. Among these terrifying constructs, the Silver Towers of Tzeentch are perhaps the most infamous. Vast floating citadels bristling with warp-charged weaponry and capable of phasing in and out of reality at will. These sorceress fortresses are said to house Tzeentchian warlocks, bound demons, and hidden knowledge, their very presence warping the battlefield around them. And other demon engines include warp flame incarnates, hovering construct that unleash torrents of mutating fire that twists their victims into horrifying forms, and flux fiends, skittering mechanical abominations that shift their shape mid-battle, adapting to threats with terrifying speed. Whether the towering fortress of sorcery or ever-morphing constructs of destruction, Tzeentch's demon engines are more than just weapons. They are embodiments of change, wielding war as a weapon as grand and incarnate game as the great architect's endless schemes. Yeah, cool. It's interesting the demon engine says like typically demon engines use the metal as kind of like that anchoring point. But even that, it's shifting with Khorne. Like, yeah, it still is there, but now it's just taking another shape and all that. Cool. Well, we have Jax joining us. I just let you in there. Hey, welcome to the show. We'll see if
can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you. Welcome,
All right,
welcome.
Sweet.
How are you feeling about
Changer
Tzeentch?
of guests?
Changer of guests.
A pretty cool guy, not gonna lie. He's more than I actually expected.
Yeah, maybe we'll come back to that. Did you find where you're gonna be reading the scintillating legions? Scintillating.
Give me 1 second. I'm still on Demon Princes and Lore, Lesser Demons.
It's right around page 19.
Okay. Scrolling. Oh, there we go. All right. Just start whenever.
Yep. Take it away.
The air twists and fractures, a cascade of impossible hues erupting into reality as the scintillating legions congeal from the madness of the warp. To the untrained eye, indeed, to any mind not shaped by the architect of fate, these gatherings of demons are indistinguishable, a whirling prismatic tempest of shrieking forms in flickering lights. Yet beneath the surface of this chaos, a terrible design unfolds, intricate beyond mortal comprehension, its patterns legible only to he who weaves the future. Those each delights in deception and subversion, there come moments when stratagems alone will not suffice, when guile must be given talons, when manipulation must be clad in flesh. His demonic hosts descend upon the battlefield, unlike the rigid formation of Khorne's butchers or the putrid ties of Nurgle wretches. These legions are mutable things, forever shifting, rearranging, reshaping themselves to better serve their inscrutable purpose. A war host of the great deceiver does not march, it undulates, it spirals, it cavorts. Warp flame erupts in fountains of ever-changing radiance. Flesh sloughs and reforms, limbs bifurcate into gasping horrors. All the while spells ripple through the air, like whispered secrets to witness a scintillating legion. In battle is a glimpse of a grander plan at play, one that shifts even as it is perceived. Yet the head of each legion perches a lord of change, a being of vast cunning and boundless malice, entrusted with autonomy by the changer of ways. These arch schemers shape their hosts according to their own appetites, some reveling in destruction, command conflagration legions, where seething waves of flamer spew the raw stuff of the warp itself, reducing all to motes of madness. Others, more erratic in nature, form the legions anarchists, whose numbers and tactics are in constant flux, striking where least expected, truly knowing the perfect time to strike. The most enigmatic among them are those who lead the veiled legions, hosts unseen, whose existence is whispered but never confirmed, their presence known only in the aftermath, when the world itself realizes too late it has been rewritten. Each legion is further divided into 9 hosts, governed by ambitious demon princes and heralded by the likes of changecasters, fluxmasters, and fate skimmers. These lieutenants are no less ensnared by the nature of their master, for within their own ranks a ceaseless game is played, one of treachery, ambition, and the pursuit of a favor that can never truly be won. Even the mighty lords of change conspire against each other, their machinations tangling in an ever-evolving contest of supremacy, a contest that amuses their god above all else, for Tzeentch watches, ever smiling, ever jesting, ever judging. And so within the shifting spires of the pyramid of Yerk, these sigils of the legions dance in the air, rearranging themselves in a pattern seen and unseen, understood and yet forever elusive. The 9 most exalted among them are gifted dominion over the fractal fortress, monolithic citadels that crown the crystal labyrinth. To rule such a fortress is to stand, if only for a single moment, at the very precipice of Tzeentch's design. But nothing stays as it is. Not here, not ever. Damn.
Nice. Way to come in clutch, and your reading is very nice. Yeah, Tzeentch is just, these legions would be so crazy to watch. Just like, you're almost like battling the northern lights, these shifting colors, and like it's
Yeah.
beautiful until you're dead from it.
Yeah, like mesmerizing and yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool example, Mark. Just picturing like fighting the sky.
As it's casting fireballs at you, of course.
Yeah. Lightning. And... All right.
All manner
Notable.
of...
Go ahead, Jack.
Oh no, I'm just saying like all manner of warp sorcery just getting sent your way. That
Yeah.
poor real
Yeah.
guardsman is like, I didn't sign up for this shit.
You're also like slack jawed and mesmerized by it too. It's a beautiful death. All right, let's get into some notable demons of Tzeentch. Magnus the Red, Demon Primarch. A being of godlike intellect and sorcerer's power, Magnus walks the path between enlightenment and damnation, forever seeking knowledge even as his every step tightens Tzeentch's grip upon him. Kairos, Fate Weaver, the twin-headed oracle of Tzeentch, cursed with infinite knowledge, yet denied the ability to shape his own fate, whispers prophecies both true and false in a voice that unravels empires. The Blue Scribes, 2 cackling, quarrelsome demons forever scrawling the stolen secrets of reality, gathering sorceries for their master, yet never pausing long enough to understand the horrors that they transcribe. The Changeling, a shape-shifting terror that walks unseen among gods and mortals alike, sowing discord with a whispered lie, a misplaced word, or the perfect betrayal at the worst possible moment. And then we have a notable example of someone who walks in between paths, I guess we could say, is Ahriman of the Thousand Suns. Chief Librarian of the Thousand Suns, he's a master sorcerer whose rubric of Ahriman forever transformed his legion, turning most of his brothers into dust-sealed automatons in an ill-fated attempt to save them from the ravages of the warp. Ahriman is very much the case of someone who trusted Tzeentch, gets screwed over by Tzeentch, and now is like constantly trying to fight with Tzeentch in a way. Yeah, he's kind of an oddball, but like it's one of those things where the more you fight with Tzeentch, the more you like wrap yourself in his schemes and plans. Like, are you really fighting against him, or are you getting used by him?
Yeah, I picture it like Double or Nothing, where it's like, that gambling addict, where it's like, I'll just do one more scheme, and this time I'll definitely get free from Tzeentch.
Yeah.
But every scheme he does, he's getting deeper and deeper, and he doesn't know he's racking up that debt.
Yeah, exactly. So he's kind of an interesting case for sure.
Yeah. There's a lot of information on those guys. Like at this point, we're kind of wrap up the episode. Those characters, they could all have an episode to themselves. Magnus the Red obviously will get one, and those other ones they could probably get. Maybe Share the Demons get an episode, and Aramon gets an episode. So we'll definitely come back to them. We just really touched them.
Yeah, it's worth just noting that they exist, but they'll get their own
dipping
time.
our toe in, a little teaser, a little bite.
Toe in the ocean. Halfway through this episode, I kind of got the vibe of, man, I feel like I need to break this into a two-parter, and maybe next go around after we do some Primarchs and stuff, we're gonna do episodes called The Cult of Tzeentch or The Cult of Khorne. And in these episodes, maybe we'll talk about mortal followers. Like what we talked about gave you a very good idea of Tzeentch. It gave you an idea of his realm and his demons. But like his followers can be very different. And there's a lot of different ones. So for example, there's night houses. What do those look like if they're Tzeentchian corrupted? Or what do Chaos Space Marines? Do they only use the 1,000 Suns? There's a bunch of different ones. Are there Xenos out there that worship Tzeentch? So maybe that would be a fun episode to kind of do where it's like these kind of mortal worshippers of Tzeentch, and you talk about the blessings and the psychic powers that they can get. So that's definitely, I think, the vibe of eventually happening soon. TM.
I love to think that just each night houses are just knights with wings.
Sure, fuck yeah.
That's kind of
It
cool.
shouldn't be possible, but it's happening.
But it's fucking happening. I like it.
Yeah.
There's some cool stuff for sure there. Lots of different cool war bands and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's kind of the episode. Tzeentch, definitely cool. Very easy to kind of get the vibe of them, and like some gods I don't get following. I'll never get following Nurgle, but I could understand following Tzeentch for sure. I could get into that mindset.
You might already be a follower and not even know it.
Maybe. Exactly.
Oh, I love that thought. Just like some guy who thought he's been like fighting like a Death Watch commander, right? He's been fighting or Grey Knight. He's been fighting Tzeentch for so long. And then all of a sudden the demons just like step back and they just start chanting, "One of us, one of us."
Okay, well that would never happen with the Grey Knight specifically, but it could be their attempt to turn him. Sure.
Yeah.
Or like he's been helping them all this time. He's never even noticed it.
That one I think is more plausible where, yeah, like he's still loyal, but he got worked into a scheme of some kind where he's accidentally doing Tzeentch's will. And he can try to fight it if he realizes sooner than later what's going on. But, yeah. Cool.
If Tzeentch thrives on change, does he desire a final outcome? Or is the endless pursuit of schemes his true goal? We talk about the Chaos Gods battling the Emperor and trying to stop him from becoming Chaos God. Like, does Tzeentch really even technically care about that? Or is that just another one of his endless plots and schemes? What is there end spot for Tzeentch?
If you don't mind, I think Tzeentch does care. Like in the Horus Heresy, I was reading the Terra books. It was mentioned that he was actually like him and the rest of the Chaos Gods were actually afraid of the Emperor at one point. Like there was definitely this tangible fear that like, oh shit, this guy's gonna mess us up if we like let him continue. But if I believe this is me personally, but I believe if Tzeentch had a way to like win 40k, he would put down the Chaos Gods, the other three. He would keep the Emperor as he is, but he would leave the Imperium, the Xenos, his demons. He would just leave that all alone. He would put down any real rivalry, but he'd put down everything, but he'd keep, in a very unchangey way, he'd keep the state of the galaxy as is. Just remove those higher powers.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's one way to do it for sure. And then just everything kind of just can keep existing, and that's all beneficial for him. Keep doing its thing. Keep it spinning.
Yeah. I like to think about that
Mm.
that joke that's like, the real lesson or whatever was the journey along the way. Like the real friends are the ones we made along the way, or like life is a journey, not a destination kind of crap right over your bathroom wall. But I do think change is something like that, where like, yeah, there really is no end game in mind. It's just planning for the sake of planning, scheming for the sake of scheming. That is in itself is what gives him essence and power. And how can you ever like unravel a plan that has no end, right? Like,
I suppose, eh?
Yeah.
That's fun.
Liar in the chat said, "Live, laugh, Tzeentch." Someone please make that a sign you can put on a and just sneak it into your wife's like decor or whatever. Like, don't even say anything.
It's like switching Obi-Wan pictures and Jesus.
Yeah.
See if they
Same.
notice.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's this episode. That's kind of, let's call this part 1 of Tzeentch. Like I said, I'm kind of brainstorming for a part 2 mid-episode, so that's always fun when that happens. Get a little inspired. Let's do some shout outs. If you want to buy any of the models that we mentioned today, especially since some of them are pretty old and might be harder to track down, make sure you go to Merlin's Miniatures, use promo code Lorehammer, or there's a link in the description below. And if you use that, you will get a little referral code and I'll get a little kickback. So definitely go use Merlin's Miniatures and promo code Lorehammer. Also, come check out the Lorehammer Listener Lore podcast. I release homebrew and stuff. It's always fun. I always enjoy the homebrew lore for sure. So come check that out. Christian?
Yeah, and if you like Star Wars and you like to hear me and Jordan talk about it, come over to the Star Lores podcast, where we do deep dives into Star Wars Legends content and have like short discussions after. Unfortunately, we're not set up for call-ins, but definitely drop us some fan mail or whatever. Have your questions answered on the show.
Yeah, very cool. And if you like Court, you can go check out the Funkatronic Rex podcast. Yeah, they talk all things from board games to Dungeons and Dragons to tabletop 40K to just whatever kind of nerdy stuff you're into. So go definitely check out Funkatronic Rex podcast. And if you want to be Jax's friend, you can say hi to him now. Hi, Jax.
Fuck, I feel all you guys got like podcasts is I just like spawned in like inadequate.
Go follow Jax in real life down the street.
This is his address. We'll post it online and have at it.
I need friends.
Cool.
Please help.
Thanks, Jax, for calling in. We'll all be friendless together here. Next god up on the line, I think, is Nurgle. So we'll get to him and see what happens. Patreon this week, we had one new one, Captain Crunch. Thanks a lot. But, all the members in the chat, including Jax here in the show, are Patreon members, and really appreciate all the money and support that we get from you guys. So thanks so much. And I guess at this point, we say adios, farewell. Next week, let's all try to be not sick in favor of Nurgle, but we'll see how many people actually got affected and have like the cough and the phlegm. And yeah.
COVID 70 is back.
COVID 70. No, goddamn. I knew I should have fucked that chicken. All right, everyone. Adios. See you on the next one.